Welcome to Pathworking the Tree of Life with the Alchemical Cabala. This week, we come to a path of demarcation. Path 22 on the Tree of Life. Gateway to the Greater Mysteries. The Path of Lamed is sometimes called the Teacher of Teachers. It's an interesting title of this path. In the Sefer Yetzirah, which you know is the Book of Formation, it says, the 22nd path is called the Faithful Intelligence, and is so called because by it, spiritual virtues are increased, and all dwellers on earth are nearly under its shadow. Kind of reminds me of the Plato's cave story there. So before we get into reading the path for 22, let's review some things. First, who can tell me what these shapes are called in the Western tradition?
Tattvas.
Thank you, Victoria. That's exactly correct. These are the tattvas. Now, remember in the Western tradition, what you see here, these tattvas, they are the essence of the elements themselves. These are not just symbols for the elements. Now, here are the 5 basic elements or tattvas, and let's go ahead and review them briefly. Who can recall what the triangle is?
Fire.
Perfect. Thank you, Easy. Yes, the triangle is always fire, always. Does anyone know the square?
The air.
The square is earth.
Earth. My bad.
Yep.
No? Okay. The square is always earth. Always. The circle over here is air. Always, the circle is always air. The crescent you see in the middle, like shape of a cup, is water. And the oval or vesica Pisces, does anyone remember this one?
Spirit.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, this is spirit. Sometimes it's called akasha or space. Okay? These are the 5 elements of the pentagram. Sometimes in the Western tradition, it's called the Star of Christ, or the Christos. All right. So, we reviewed our basic tattvas. They're spread out through all of the tarot. Just remember that. Then we have what are called double tattvas. Here's one. So this double tattva has a circle inside a square. So in most simple terms, without looking just in the shapes, what we know the circle again is
Air.
air. Excellent. And the square is
Earth.
earth. That's right. So the double tattva, you always look at the most central, what's in the center first. So this would be the double tattva of air, of earth. Don't worry about intellectualizing this because this is beyond the intellect. But you should be familiar with what the shapes are and what they're called. Okay. So this is air of earth. Now look at the colors and anyone feel free to, looking at the tree itself, try to intuit or elaborate what comes to you seeing a red circle inside of a white square.
Severity.
Pardon me?
Severity. Action.
Yes, yes,
Mars.
yes. Excellent. Action, right? Volition on the simple tree. Power. Right. So the qualities of the red sephira on the tree are functioning through air, right? Which is the mind. And that power is being expressed into form or earth, which is white, which we know on the tree is.
Yeah, through the divine self.
Thank you. Perfect. Easy. Yes. It's Keter, the divine self. There's a lot being communicated in these two shapes together. All right. Great job, everyone, on that. So we see power and activity of the mind inside the tattva of purified earth. It's purified because white is the crown or the divine will. So one reading simply is the activity of the divine will in manifestation. Does everyone kind of see the simplistic reading of that double tattva? The activity, the divine self in earth or manifestation. Okay. Now we can get to the heart, the lesson here, and begin reading the beautiful key for this week's path, the path of justice. So please unmute yourselves one at a time, breathe in and out the imagery of this key, and speak what comes to you or what you wonder about in this key of Lamed, Lady Justice.
You might be on mute, Rachel, if you're talking.
Sorry, thanks. On her crown is the activity of the divine self of earth on her crown, right in the center.
Yes,
The-
great, wonderful. Yes, right there.
That's cool.
Very.
I'll just let other people. That's what I wanted to show this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The scale is at her heart level,
Yes.
while the sword is, held in her right hand.
Yes.
But it's she uses the justice to help weigh it out.
Right. Yeah, to balance it.
Yeah, I mean the heart to balance out
Yes,
the severity.
exactly. Yes, perfect. Excellent observation. Oop. So if you looked and superimposed this figure on the tree, look at where the handle of the sword is. What sphere would that be?
Yabura?
Yes. Yes, easy. Does everyone see how that would be Gevra, the red sphere at her right shoulder? She backs into the tree. Okay.
Just say real fast with regards to just really noticing the amount of color of red and then the green, and the red being, we're just talking like strength, action, movement, things like that. But then also the green, if I'm not mistaken, that being a symbol of like love. Is that correct? Like the love that's
Yes.
there. So
Yes.
just
Venus.
kind of, yes, yeah, Venus, exactly. And with that, just kind of it just has this feeling of a whole lot of action, but with that drape of love, and then similar, it's in the crown as well, all around. So just the green really jumps out, as it's draped on top of all of this red. And and this card has like a lot of activity. It feels like that's there. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
Excellent. Who else?
I was going to say I notice three pointed objects, 3 points in her crown, 3 points to the scale, 3 points in the sword.
Yes. Yes. Threes and threes and threes.
Yeah.
And
And
that
the cross across her chest kind of mirrors the scale in a sense, like it's kind of connecting it in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to put that together, but
There's 3 loops in the chords too.
Interesting. Interesting. Yes. Yeah.
Not only fire is that, but also the law, the 3 points,
Yes.
like the
Exactly.
law all over this justice key, all over it.
Right. Right.
And the chalice at her chest, which in this case
Yes.
be the chalice of standing for water, but we think of chalice as Holy Spirit too, right? And it's
Right.
white. So the divine spirit at her chest, at her heart level, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Does everyone see what she's saying, what Rachel's saying here about she's holding, and see the scales are the bottom of the cup. She's holding the center of the cup, and here at her heart is the chalice, the cup. Beautiful,
And
right?
that brings love, the shawl of love over her shoulders. And I just saw this one thing is this: as above, so below, the scale on the bottom, and then the chalice on the top. It looks like that's what it looks like to me, like what Teresa was saying, the 3 points up and 3 points down.
Yes.
Or David, right?
Right.
I'll just quick note here too with regards to the seat as to where she is, and because as you zoomed out, it's just noticing just that edge like below her foot and all that, and just making me think, oh, there's a lot, you see a lot of gray there, and then also it makes me think of like the emperor key, right, where he's sitting on that cube, and since it's gray, it's the wisdom. So it's a similar feeling of just this is all grounded and seated at like the foundation of wisdom, being there just with, because I have the gray, the gray bricks. I'm just imagining just that larger slab, and then on top of that, her throne seat itself, also with the flanked on both sides with those 2 gray pillars as well. So just all along with the the symbol on her crown, and just kind of exudes the fact that this is a coming from a place of foundational wisdom, divine understanding, things like that.
Yes. Excellent.
So is the purple outline the chalice? around her neck.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Right. You see the,
yeah.
yes, the gold on the bottom, the purple up here. Yes. That's one of the symbols there. Yes.
Hmm.
This card makes me think of the High Priestess. This is almost like this is the High Priestess in action.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah,
And
all of the elements are pretty much the same, or
yes,
variations.
that's a great point, Michael. And to that point, just so everyone makes the connection, if you add 1 and 1, what number do you get? You get 2, the number of the High Priestess key, right? And this is definitely her in action. Did you have anything else to add to that, Michael?
No, just that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's interesting if you read it from right to left, the numbers, they're both ones, so they're both about the magician. Usually it's like if it was like 12, it would be the high priestess through the magician or something. So
Yes, very good. Excellent. Right. This is 1, or the magician, right? Operating through the magician. Our self-consciousness going through the self-consciousness. Or if you look at the crown of Keter, which is the divine self and divine will, it shows the one reflecting itself to itself.
This key is all about balance too, like the high priestess, the
Exactly.
scale, the pillars behind her,
Yes.
the curtains,
Hmm?
everything in balance.
Exactly. What do you notice about the top of the curtains behind her?
Well, this was one thing I saw the first time I really looked at it. It reminded me of a spotlight.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, it's kind of, the curtains are giving like shape and a pattern that for the light to flow through, right? The super consciousness here. But look at the curtains themselves. What shape do you see? The tops.
Oval.
Yes, excellent, Nancy. So you see ovals reflecting, an oval on the left and reflected and balanced on the right by another oval or vesica Pisces.
Spirit.
Spirit, exactly.
Yellow behind is attainment. Is that what yellow is?
So yellow is the color of the superconscious,
Okay.
right? Like the Fool key and the background of the Strength key and the background of the Magician. Look at how that is being harnessed behind her.
It's using the crescent of it's the receptivity of the crescent.
Yes, you see that here, right? In the throne itself, we see another cup or receptiveness, right?
Mhm.
Is that what you're talking about, Jesse?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
really the scales are like a crescent, just 3D
absolutely.
crescents.
Yes, and yes. This is
And
all,
then her
go ahead.
collar is also an oval, really.
Yes, right. The spirit. This is receptivity to the superconscious self as it comes into action.
I feel like the card, it's an aspect of mind. And when our thoughts are on, just everyday life, on, oh, I got to go to work today, or I got to go do this, or this person did this and that person did that. And that's sort of like that, maybe the red energy. But behind all those thoughts is this beautiful, bright light. It's like, if we can just turn it all off, for a moment, for the mind that just keeps running and running and running and running all the time, all day long. You'll look at somebody and you might not say something, but there's a judgment there, or there's something, you're just constantly, the mind is going. But if we're able to, just for a moment, just shut off, all of those thoughts that are running, right? That's where the light peeks through. That's where the light opens up within the mind, because we're supposed to be beings of light and love and joy and happiness. So underneath that, all those thoughts that we think all the time, all those myriad of thoughts that just keep going and going and going, is this amazing, beautiful light that, that's able to be who we are. That's who we are. That's the whole point of, I think, doing this is to recognize that light within us, and that, that life can be joyful and wonderful and beautiful and full of light. And yet, but then we have this mind that just likes to do its own thing. And so if we can just take that sword and just start cutting off those thoughts, I mean, it's easier to say than done, than to do. We can, access that light within our being, and balance the scales pretty much.
That is awesome. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
That's exactly it. Exactly. This key helps us to do that. Exactly what you articulated so very well. Thank you.
Would you say, I guess it kind of answering my own question, but it seems as though the center of the scales is Tiferet.
Mm-hmm. Good
Center
pickup.
there.
Yep.
That's aligned
nice.
with that type of spirit,
yep.
which has a crossing point through it. So there seems to be the reaching, like you were saying earlier. I was listening, talking about the right hand reaching, holding the sword where the sphere of spherity would be,
right,
while the left hand holds the center of the scales, balancing.
Yes.
The
Isn't
reaching
and
the discrimination or the discernment, which I think of as the cutting aspect of the sword, piercing aspect.
Right. Excellent, Jesse. So real quick, I'm just going to peek over at this. What you're saying is, what I'm hearing you say is, the sword of Gevra is being connected to the heart, right? That activity. Is that a fair assessment of what you are saying? Or are you saying something else?
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is the activity is balanced by the mediating aspect.
Yes.
So what you're saying makes sense.
So look where she is on the tree. She's exactly connecting the heart of the tree to the severity sphere of Gevra. Everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. So back to the key. So knowing that she's the handle is in the sphere of Gevra, where would the tip of the sword be on the tree?
Bina.
Thank you. Perfect. Easy. Yes. Bina. Understanding the divine mind, which is the discerning aspect. and the divine feminine. Okay, who else?
What's with the little white foot?
Good question. It's literally the only white showing in this key, right? On the inside.
Around her, the
Oh yeah,
chalice
and the square.
and the
Oh,
three little
and yeah,
circles on the
okay.
sword.
You're
Yeah.
right. Okay, there's yep, white, white, white here, 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 here. So, right, what do you make of the foot being white?
Well, wisdom on the ground,
Okay.
something like
Yeah,
that.
the gray is wisdom, but we know
Okay,
white
okay.
is the divine self.
Oh,
And she's only showing one foot. The other is concealed, right? It's inside of the robes. So this suggests that this activity of this key is not only external, but this is internal activity also.
It's
Which
since it's the right foot that would emphasize the action. She's stepping out on it.
Stepping out on action. Very nice.
Yeah, stepping forward, you know.
Yes, right.
I was just thinking the same thing of through all that red action is right action. That's what I was just thinking too. Through all the red action there. I mean, there's so much red. It just occurred to me how much red is there.
A lot of red.
A lot of red.
Yeah, there's a lot of red. A lot of power in this key.
it doesn't look like a shoe though. It looks like a sock,
Okay. All right.
but it could be anything
Well,
either.
it's fine. You can see it as a sock. You know, sometimes in holy places, people will take off their shoes and just wear, you know, wear
Or
a softer.
Levi's. What's a lamed mean again?
Okay. Can anyone answer what the letter lamed is? The meaning of it?
Ox goad.
Yes, it's ox goad. So specifically, Jesse, it's goad, right? And most specifically, in Hebrew, it is ox goad. That's one of the main meanings of the letter lamed. Okay, there's two others, but for our purposes, ox goad is the most pertinent. But I'll share the other two with you just because. One, in some ways, this is a staff. Okay. And it's also sometimes referred to in Hebrew as a wing. But the main teaching is that it is the goad for the ox. It's like what you see right here at the bottom of the key. Like the ox is the main power for cultivation of power, right? Like tilling the soil, etc. But you have to put a yoke on that power to make it useful, to bring it into activity and manifestation. Otherwise, it's just wild power everywhere. But once you yoke it, then you can use it to cultivate. All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we move forward?
I think the thing that got me was the drapes are so heavy.
Nice.
And they're purple and they've got the red on them, but they just seem like, I guess I tend to want light everywhere. So I don't know whether I would want the drapes in my place.
Okay. Well, the purple is the royal color of Jupiter.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the color royalty. But on the tree, it's the foundation, right? The moon of Yesod. But the color purple itself is a royal color. It's the highest color of the physical vision, right?
Mhm.
And we
You
know
know,
Jupiter. Go ahead.
sorry.
I was just going to say Jupiter is the benevolent aspect of the tree. Go ahead, Mike.
So the meaning of the letter Lamed being ox goad, there's like an executive function there, to motivate and to guide.
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. That is the main function. And isn't that interesting that one of the titles is Teacher of Teachers? All right. Anyone else want to share anything before we move forwards?
What was the yellow on the ties? I can't remember.
Here and here?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. It looks almost like it's still the background. It's just you're seeing a little bit of it coming through.
Oh,
Or it
okay.
could be gold in the ties also.
I find the number 11 really interesting to just contemplate.
Right?
And you said this was the 22nd path, right?
That is correct.
There's this mirroring
Right.
aspect going on with this key more than there's the suspended man has some of that, but it's different. It's more reversal than it is mirroring.
It's more passive.
This is very
And
much like a mirroring effect.
Yes. This is an active key, right? A key of action.
Right. Okay. Good point.
And you see the two columns behind her make an 11, right? These are the pillars on the tree of mercy and severity. And here she is directly in the center.
So maybe that's one aspect of this key is understanding the I know I say mediating, but the that 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 aspect that is between the two opposites. I guess I'm just sounding really obvious as I'm saying it, but the scales being in balance means there is a mediator and there is someone actively balancing those scales, which requires attention and a level of discernment.
Mm.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? What you just said, very interesting. So if that's an accurate intuition on your part, getting in touch with that intelligence would be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent, Jesse. Excellent work.
And Christ is our mediator, so.
Absolutely. And the Christ light is coming through the super subconscious and our own subconscious in this key.
Just one other aspect of this card that I see with justice, I always think of the, karma.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And what you sow, you reap. You
exactly.
reap.
Exactly.
It's like what you put out, you're going to get back. I mean, it's just a universal truth. So
that's a great point, Christina. And in fact, this key is associated with the word karma. Now, to clarify that just a little bit is In the West, we have a very, very limited and incomplete mass mind perception of this term karma. And just to put it simply, in the mass mind, the dominant belief, if you like, in the West of karma is, like you said, you reap what you sow, which is true. But people still have this kind of old law idea of karma. Like, if I think we discussed this before in the Cube of Space lessons on this path or current on the cube, but to put it simply, karma simply means work or action. That's its most basic interpretation or definition. The old law mentality is the old eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth sense of justice.
Yeah.
We no longer, by grace, are under that law. And praise be to our Creator and Jesus Christ for that, because that would be a system through which it would be almost impossible to transcend, because the logic of that system is, I think the example I gave last time, I'll just reiterate it, is if a person killed someone, then the idea of old karma, the old law is, oh, well, that person would need to be killed. Well, to do that, somebody's got to kill them. Well, now that person, somebody's got to kill them. And
It's
you
the
see
number 11.
Yeah, so right. So it's like Gandhi said, an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. And what we see here when we come to this truly, and we look at what's beneath the appearance of the outer garments. She's wearing blue inner robes. On the tree, the blue sphere is mercy. So all this action is really mercy being put into action, no matter what the appearance. And to be sure, that does not lighten the severity or the power here at all. But it's not punishment. It's the intelligence that brings us to liberation from that old law.
I feel like it's the now it's an inside law. It's not the law of the land, it's the inner law, and we know what our laws are and what we know when we're going one way or one extreme to the other. And I feel like this is the thing that brings us back. And it's a self-correction.
Excellent. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Anyone else?
I was going to say I'm actually just looking this up real quick. It's maybe a little left field here, but just with regards to just the overall imagery of this, and especially with the scales, and then the talk of karma is making me think a bit of I was just having to pull this up here. I mean, basically the whole thing with the weighing of the heart and the feather, like an old Egyptian, right? It's that
I
old thing.
love it, Easy.
So
Yes.
yeah, so
It-
just real for context. I mean, just as a very small snippet,
Yeah.
it's the
Mhm.
ancient Egyptians believed that the heart recorded all of the good and bad deeds of a person's life and was
Mhm.
needed for judgment in the afterlife. After a
Yes.
person died, the heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of
Yes.
truth and justice.
That's
The
right.
scales were watched by Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, and the results recorded by Thoth, the ibis-headed god of writing. If a person had led a decent life, the heart balanced with a feather, and the person was rendered worthy to live forever in paradise with Osiris. And so it's just all of that being so all that we're saying, I was like, oh, it's like that thing I saw
Yeah.
from a while back. So yeah,
That-
it's cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Easy. That's perfect. You are on point. It's exactly where this is. Exactly. Now, the only thing I would add to that is the Egyptian teaching there is often having to do with the afterlife, right? And disincarnation. But as mystics, okay, and as travelers of the inner paths, we can and do when we are ready, we can come to this threshold without the disincarnation of what we call the flesh body, right? That's our work. But you're absolutely on point. Thank you. So with that, we're going to move forwards. Okay. Um, yeah. So I want to thank everyone, all of you. The, what you bring to these classes is invaluable, and it assists others in seeing what they need to see and hearing what they need to hear. So thank you all very, very much. You see before you hear the letter Lamed in the double Takva. The letter Lamed is the central or middle letter of the flame Aleph Bet, the alphabet, right, in Hebrew. It's the very center letter, the middle. It's the 11, and there's 22 letters, right? And it means goad, specifically ox goad, like we covered before. Now, remember, the superconsciousness in the full key is Aleph, which is the ox, right? So who remembers this formula or God name? Aleph Lamed, the ox and the ox goad. These two letters together, Aleph, the ox, and Lamed, the ox goad, form the God name El. It can also be pronounced all, right? This is one of the most powerful names or formulas of the creator of all. The letter Lamed keeps the super consciousness you see in the Fool on the path of its original intention. Remember, the ox of Aleph is the super conscious light Christina was talking about behind the Lady Justice. You see, it's yellow, it's identical. It is the same one light, the one Michael talks about in his classes of backing into. Notice it's behind her. Now, this superconscious light gives life to all things. All things. And this light is not metaphor. It's not metaphor at all. It's living, eternal, and real light. We connect to this life power through our breath, especially at this vibratory level we're in here, as incarnate in what we call the world. Now, the function of the intelligence of Lamed is simply to guide us in the way. It's like Jesse was talking about. The self-directing intelligence of Lamed is inherent in the superconscious mind itself. Which is like the aura of the sun. We are inside of it, and it is inside of us. Okay. So on the tree, this path, on the path of return, this is the primary path that initiates one into what are sometimes called the greater mysteries. Now, what does this mean? You know, greater, lesser mysteries, greater mysteries. One simple view of this is that the higher up the tree corresponds to going deeper within. And the higher or deeper one proceeds, the experience of the path is less centered around identifying oneself with that which is temporary or impermanent. The personality, for example. And ever closer to the true self that is within the eternal mind of the One, or the Creator. Simply, this is where one begins to identify their self more with one's true self. The self one was before coming into this incarnation. The self one is now behind all appearances. And the self one will be when this present world incarnation is only a memory. This self. Lady Justice, simply, she's the gatekeeper to the greater mysteries. No one, not no one will never attain to the deeper mysteries without her permission. And this is a grace. Now, the terms we use as greater or lesser mysteries in the Western tradition is in no way related to the current modern mind of more important or less important, or more holy or less holy. Okay. More good, or, that none of that applies. All is one, all is holy. What this key does is she balances the cosmic scales of justice with a sword of severity while wearing the undergarments of mercy. She's basically putting the spear of mercy into action. To the merciful, I will show mercy. With what measure you measure, so shall it be measured unto you. Words of the Master. Judge not, and be not judged. I desire mercy. And in essence, this key from the Book of Tokens, it said, lo, I guide thee all the way. Rest thou in me. Meditation on Lamed. So it's said in Cabala Equilibrium is the basis of the great work. Jesse was talking about the interesting number 11. The number 11 shows the one reflecting itself to itself. Just let that sink down deep into your mind and let it be. Here is one of the most useful layouts in the Book of Wisdom that I'm aware of. If you're not familiar with it, definitely work on that. If you don't know this formula, memorize it and lay the keys out. And here it is, the 3x7 layout. Right. So, the Fool is free up here above. The Fool is between every key, around every key. You could put the Fool anywhere you like. This is the free self. The rest of the tableau, the Book of Wisdom you see here, are all the powers and activities and states of consciousness of the self as we come into creation and evolve back through creation back to our source. I want you to notice where the justice key falls in this 3x7 layout of the book. Studying this version of the Book of Wisdom will shed so much light for you about the workings of the self and bring revelations to you on your own spiritual journey. The justice key is the fulcrum point of all the letters and keys in the Book of Wisdom. She's the very center of the horizontal and vertical paths in the book. And what this shows specifically is every power that you see in the major arcana in the Book of Life does and must flow through this intelligence of equilibrium. One of our persons here very much in tune tonight brought this up earlier. This is one of the teachings of ancient Egypt, as Easy brought up earlier, associated with this path. And this is, as he said, the scales showing the heart on one side, and on the other, the feather of truth of Ma'at. What this process brings the soul to is a determination of what will be next in the soul's journey. If the scales are balanced, then that soul is free to continue their inner journey further and further into the tree of life in the higher or deeper, greater worlds. In a similar way, the key of justice directs the life power through all its vehicles and prepares each of us for the deeper mysteries of the self. So, as the gatekeeper to the higher mysteries on the tree, justice will only allow one through who has proven they're pure of heart. Okay. There's no way around this. The way through is complete surrender to the one will, which is why this key follows the hanged man, our prior path on the path of return. Hangman offered himself up completely to the will of the one self. Now, interestingly, this is a letting go of judgment of the conditioned intellect, or that of the lower mind, the mind of the world. Yeah. Right. So, she wears the outer robe of red or severity, the inner robe of blue or mercy. Again, no matter what one is experiencing on the path, behind all appearances, there is a greater being preparing us for greater things. Now, in a practical matter, most simply, if you take anything from this class, if you feel there's something out of balance in your life, place your attention on its opposite and hold your attention there. That's a practical application. This key will help you do that naturally, but it does so at very deep levels. This is a key to mastery. Everything in life moves towards equilibrium. You know, the trillions of cells in your body, and every moment, all the activities occurring, you know, in the modern world, we call this homeostasis. Think about the intelligence that's running that. We don't have to do anything, right? It's being lived. And it's so intricate and so precise. And this is in our flesh body, right? Kingdom of spirit is embodied in our flesh. And it's doing this moment by moment by moment. Now, here is the beauty of this. This incredible wisdom and intelligence is not only directing the intelligence of the cells, it is operating on multiple levels of reality. So, in short, this intelligence of law met and justice guides us in every moment of our lives to be in harmony with our true self. And these scales are spiritual, cosmic scales of justice. What is weighed and measured is how true one is to oneself. So, some encouragement on the path. We know the Holy Guardian Angel promises and assures us success. And we are never without assistance or grace from the divine. We simply must request it and then trust in the goodness of the Creator. This key helps bring all things into its proper place and balance within our life. And meditation on this key with your core practice will bring up exactly what needs addressing, exactly as we need it. All right. Now, as a general rule, I rarely ever share my own personal experiences with path working and the tarot, unless I'm talking in private with a person and, you know, and it seems useful. But tonight I'm going to share one small experience I had with this path and key. And the reason I don't normally go on about these things is I don't want to influence others as to getting ideas of what they think they should or should not be experiencing. Okay? To be crystal clear, The beauty of the tarot is you always get exactly what your soul needs from the self. Every soul being unique will acquire and have its own unique experiences that are appropriate for it from the wisdom of the self. No matter where one is at any moment on the path. So, just in the spirit and hope of being helpful, I'm going to share one interesting experience I had with this path. So, this has been many, many years ago. I was doing the core practice with this particular key, and I did it before I went to sleep, and I reawakened in a lucid dream. And found myself awake in the inner planes, and this figure that looks very much like Lady Justice appeared. Now, when these things happen, you don't have like these premeditated questions ready on hand, right? It's like, oh, I want to ask this and that. No, it's not my experience anyway. But what emerged from what simply came forth from deep within me, not from my intellect, was this question. And I remember looking at this being, and I asked him, this being, I was like, "Are you myself?" Which almost it surprised my intellect that this question just emerged, right? And the response from the being in the experience was, quote, "Now that's a good question." That was it. That was the only reply. Now, however, this is many, many years ago, but this one response completely reshaped my perception from that moment forth and changed my whole view of the path and reality and etc. And it shaped my life in more ways than I can say. So know that your experience with persistence, especially with poor practice, with all the keys, particularly this key, the teacher of teachers, will bring you exactly what you need on your path at the time that you experience it. And this is because the divine self knows what we need and when we need it. We simply put ourselves in and trust. It's that simple. The self is one. It knows itself. And because it knows itself, it's always in harmony with the way. This key keeps you in the flow of the way. Practice the core practice. Trust and put into action the guidance you receive from your true self. Thank you all for your light and presence. This concludes our outer class on the path of Lamed, the teacher of teachers and guardian of the greater mysteries. Floor is now open for any questions or comments.